There are a few movies so dark you're immediately relieved they're just fiction. But what happens when you find out those films were actually a glimpse into the unspoken reality of the 1%? Today, we're looking at a few disturbing films that, after the millions of documents unsealed in February, look less like movies and more like documented accounts of how the shadow world actually operates. Released in 2024, Blink Twice drew immediate chilling comparisons to the real-life operation of the disgraced financier. In the film, a tech billionaire flies a hand-picked group of women to his private island, but pay attention to the first thing they encounter the moment they land. They are greeted by an island handler who immediately strips them of their phones. This isn't just a random scene, it's a reality that becomes scarier as the film progresses. On the surface, the girls are showered with gifts, drinks, and non-stop luxury. It's a dream too good to be true. But every morning they wake up with zero memory of the night before. They just return to the party. This loop, party blackout repeat, is exactly how the 1% keeps their secrets from spilling out after that night of fun.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. When I first saw this movie, Blink Twice, first thing I thought about was Jeffrey Epstein. You know what I'm saying? They get flown to an island, they party, then they can't remember nothing, then they get drugged, and yeah, all type of weird shit.
Eventually, everything starts to sour when one girl goes missing. Her friend has faint fractured memories of her being there, memories the billionaire tried to scrub away. It turns out the billionaire was using a chemical amnesia substance to ensure that every night, he and his powerful friends could commit the unthinkable, knowing his guests would wake up without remembering anything. Now look at how this mirrors the February 2026 unsealing. Just like in the movie, the real-world monster utilized a massive recruitment pipeline to populate his private estate. He also had a woman handler who didn't just recruit, she managed the girls and acted as their gatekeeper, just like the movie character who takes the phones away the second they arrive. According to the newly unsealed FBI summaries, one victim recounted a 30-year cycle of being kept in a daze, subjected to repeated violations, and drugged so she couldn't fully process her reality. When you look at these documents, the movie isn't an exaggeration. If anything, the reality was way worse. Blink Twice didn't just give us a plot, it showed us the blueprint of how these billionaire elites get away with their crimes and how they're able to commit these evil acts again and again. You can't tell me this movie doesn't perfectly mirror the real-life elite scandal we're seeing right now. From the island to the substances, the gifts to the partying and the abuse, it was all on full display, showing us how these movies sometimes can be more accurate than we would ever expect. While Blink Twice gave us the play-by-play of the monster's operation, Starry Eyes pulls back the veil on something much deeper: the sinister connection between these entities and Hollywood. It explores the literal price stars are forced to pay to reach the top. Released in 2014, the film follows a young actress whose luck finally seems to change when she's called for a life-altering audition. Initially, she is turned down, but after a casting agent witnessed her at her lowest point, having a breakdown in the bathroom, she's invited back. At that moment, they didn't want her talent, they wanted to witness her rage. When she's eventually called back for a follow-up, the meeting isn't in a studio. It's a pitch-black room with nothing but a camera flash. This is when she's told to remove her clothing. At first, she hesitates, but the promise of the role is too strong. What she didn't realize is that this isn't an audition, it's a test of her boundaries. They aren't looking for an actress, they were looking for someone willing to abandon their morals for a chance at the inner circle. Then comes the third call, a creepy old-world gatekeeper who reminds her exactly how many stars he has made. This is a direct nod to men like the disgraced financier and his Hollywood associates. When he attempts to force himself on her, she flees. But here is the sad reality that mirrors our world so vividly. After realizing her normal life is a dead end, she feels she has no choice but to return. She asks for another meeting, fully knowing the outcome. She decides she wants to make it.
Yeah, and this stuff really goes on in Hollywood, man. I didn't see a lot of interviews where actors and stuff said that, you know, the casting couch is real and that shit actually goes on, and, you know, a whole bunch of stuff like this, man. So, yeah, this is facts.
At any cost. And this is where the initiation becomes a spiritual sacrifice. The girl eventually does what the director wants. And just like on the island in Blink Twice, she wakes up the next morning with no memory of the event. But this time, it's accompanied by a horrific physical pain, a sign that the transformation has begun. From here, the film takes a terrifying turn as she becomes a vessel for the dark force behind the director's satanic cult. After this evil consumes her, she eliminates her friends one by one before being taken to a cemetery for a ceremony that represents her death and rebirth. She is buried alive and rises out of the dirt as a movie star. While the movie is extreme, it mirrors the reality of the Hollywood system. There have long been rumors that these operations were tied to something deeper than just greed, something spiritual. If you read the February 2026 documents, you know this isn't far-fetched. Not only do many people see the crimes of the disgraced financier as unworldly and evil, but the recent files seem to confirm the link between major Hollywood moguls and the disgraced financier's operation. One specific connection involved the financier securing a role for a girl in a horror movie produced by the disgraced mogul Harvey. These documents reveal that the casting couch was just a cover for an organized network where talent was acquired through these recorded memory-erasing initiations. This was dark insurance for the elite, ensuring that their stars could never betray the group without destroying their own reputation in the process. The aspiring actress was invited in just to be humiliated and exploited. When she was willing to step over her morals, they saw she was ready and led her into the next stage, where they stripped her of her worth and her soul. By the end, she is reborn and now carries the secrets of the system that turned her into a monster. While this seemed like a crazy movie in 2014, just a few years later, Hollywood's biggest mogul would be exposed for doing the exact things this movie depicts. This disgraced mogul was exposed by several actresses to pick only those who were willing to compromise, essentially sell their souls to make it. But as dark as that initiation ritual in Starry Eyes is, it's only one half of the machine. If the Hollywood gatekeepers are focused on breaking the souls of those who want to be famous, there's another side of the operation focused on those who are simply financially desperate. This brings us to a film that provides the most accurate look at the recruitment side of this world, Sleeping Beauty. If Blink Twice showed us what happens on the island, and Starry Eyes shows us the price of admission, Sleeping Beauty reveals how regular everyday people get pulled into these dark circles. Released in 2011, the film follows Lucy, a college student working multiple dead-end jobs just to stay afloat. When she enters a vague advertisement, she's met by a sophisticated old money woman in a high-end office. This is the recruitment process in action. The first stage isn't a kidnapping, it's a high-paying catering gig called the Silver Service. At these private events for the global elite, the girls are required to wear nothing but lingerie while serving the most powerful men in the world. They are ordered to remain essentially invisible, treated not as people but as part of the decor. This is the moral decay phase, gradually stripping away a person's dignity until they are ready for the final stage, the Sleeping Beauty chamber. In the chamber, Lucy is drugged into a total blackout. She is placed in a bed where distinguished men pay massive sums to do whatever they want with her body while she's unconscious. It's a sick game of absolute power where the...
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that's some crazy shit. Wanting to do something with someone that's passed out unconscious that is like inhumane. That's basically like trying to have sex with a dead person. Like that's crazy.
victims are turned into human furniture to be used and discarded without ever knowing what happened to them. Now look at the reality revealed in the February 2026 documents. In these newly unsealed testimonies, former employees described a terrifying corporate system. They didn't just find girls, they scouted them. One file even details how recruiters will target students at school plays or waitresses at cafes. People who are talented, vulnerable, and just needed a way out. We see this in the infamous accounts of survivors who were brought into this world after being hired for what they thought were normal jobs by powerful people. Just like in the movie, they were regular people looking for a way to make money, only to be led into a dark reality. The 2026 files even mention a specific protocol where victims were told they were less than animals and were expected to remain as passive as the furniture in the room. This wasn't a movie trope, it was a calculated method of dehumanization.
Damn, less than animals is crazy. Oh my God. Damn, imagine being told you have no value, you're worth less than an animal. That is insane. And animals, without animals, the world will end. Like, you know what I'm saying? The world need animals, the world need birds, you know, all this stuff plays a part. You know what I'm saying?
By the time these victims reached the private island, they had already been through the same silver service style grooming. They were conditioned to believe their only value was their silence and their submission.
I mean, but real shit, like I'm saying, you go to the interview, next thing you know, they want you to be naked while serving old ass people wine and stuff like that. that's a red flag. Once you know what I'm saying, you should have been gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should have already knew what was gonna come after that. You know what I'm saying?
Sleeping Beauty proves that the most dangerous part of the elite's world isn't the violence, it's the power of money. It's the way they turn human beings into a commodity that could be bought, sold, and stored for the night. But as sinister as this recruitment is, it eventually leads to a level of depravity that even a Sleeping Beauty chamber looks like a walk in the park. Because once you view a human being as an object, you completely strip them of their value. And this is where we enter the darkest territory of the 2026 files, the world of Hostel and the pay-to-play violence of the global elite. Released in 2005, Hostel was dismissed by critics as just another slasher film. But look at the structure of the organization in the movie. The Elite Hunting Club. This isn't just random violence, it's a business. It's a high-stakes pay-to-play system where the ultra-wealthy pay for the privilege of having absolute power over another human life. In the film, the clients believe their money makes them gods who can act without consequences. They pay massive sums to be given access to a victim they can hurt in any way they desire. And many of these elite men take full advantage, doing
And this is how you know there aren't humans, because who would want to see a person just be ripped apart and tortured and stuff like that? Like, that's not human. That's not human behavior. Like, humans don't want to see other people die and stuff, watch gory stuff like all that, unless you're a psychopath and you know you're a serial killer, which I also believe that that's not, like, you know, regular human nature either.
Imaginable evil to their unsuspecting victims. These victims are usually tourists, lured from public locations by recruiters, and the rich pay for the experience like it's a ticket to an immersive amusement park. Now think about the February 2026 unsealing, specifically what analysts are calling Dataset 10. These documents contain emails discussing confidential investment opportunities that aren't about stocks or real estate, they're about extreme off-the-grid activities. The file includes correspondence regarding a project that many investigators believe was a coded reference to a seriously dark film. This is exactly what we see in Hostel, the literal commodification of human suffering for the entertainment of the 1%. It proves that for people like the disgraced financier and his inner circles, depraved exploitation was often just the entry point. The end goal was something much more sinister. The 2026 files reveals that there was a market for this type of extreme depravity, where powerful people could pay to step outside of morality and the law. What's truly disturbing is that in the recent files, there was a 2009 email where the disgraced financier literally brings up this exact topic of this movie. This shows that while this evil seems like it only belongs in a fictional film, it is actually inspired by real-life monsters. Going through these emails, you see this isn't just a movie. It is a reality that exists in the dark shadows of our world. Just like the Elite Hunting Club, the reality is a network that protects its clients while treating the rest of us as disposable material. If you thought the island was just about a party, you couldn't be more wrong. Hostel showed us the final destination of it all, a world where these monsters don't just want young victims, they want to see if they can break you for a price. We are often told that movies are just make-believe. We're told the monsters on the screen aren't real, and that the horror is just harmless entertainment. But what we've learned recently is that these monsters are very much among us. From the tech billionaire flying guests to his private island to erase their memories, just like we saw in Blink Twice, to the inspiring actors forced to sell their souls to gatekeepers just to make it in the industry, like we saw in Starry Eyes. Or the elite paying for absolute dominion over the vulnerable, like we saw in Sleeping Beauty. It's now undeniably clear, these dark themes aren't just plots, they are the reality we are living in. As more evil is uncovered in the February 2026 documents, we realize that Hollywood hasn't been hiding the truth. They've been putting it in front of us for a very long time. The only problem is, they told us it was just a movie. They did the same thing with Eyes Wide Shut. It was universally dismissed, but today, it looks less like fiction and more like a documentary. If you want to see the final warning Stanley Kubrick gave his life to tell us, the one that connects every dot we talked about today, you need to watch my deep dive on Eyes Wide Shut right now. And if you want...
Crazy situation here, man. We got these crazy movies made about Jeffrey Epstein, man. Man. This world is wicked, man. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this situation here, man. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications.